If you want your home to look like you hired a designer, but you're very much on a target budget, this episode is for you. Today, I'm sharing over 100 ways to make your home look more expensive and timeless on a budget. We're talking the little details designers obsess over: lighting, hardware, styling, architectural details, the things that quietly make a home feel high-end without chasing every trendy thing on Pinterest. I'll also walk you through what it would cost to hire a pro versus what you would actually spend doing it yourself, so you can see how much money you're really saving by going the DIY route. So grab a notebook, pause and screenshot when you need to, and start a little wish list for your home. But before we jump into all of the ideas, I want to thank Foreo for partnering with me on today's episode. All right, let's jump into the ideas. Okay, my first idea is really fun: creating a bathroom vanity from an old dresser. A custom vanity can run you thousands of dollars, but creating one from an old dresser can not only add character, but luxury for a whole lot less. You're gonna need a quality dresser that maybe even needs a little bit of work, whether that means staining it back and bringing the original wood back to life or painting it a different color. There are a lot of places where you can look for these beautiful jewels and treasures. You might not want to alter something that is worth like a lot of money, but just do your homework, use Google Lens to kind of figure that all out. You could either do a drop-in sink, or you could do a beautiful vessel sink and then a beautiful faucet. If you were to do this DIY, you could do this anywhere from $100 to $400. Here's the other little caveat, is whether you can do your own plumbing. This might be one time that I would urge you to call in somebody, even if it's a handyman that has a little bit more experience, because water leaks are no joke. Ask me how I know.
Oh, it was bad.
Okay, this next one is super easy, and that is just simply switching out your hardware. Hardware is truly the jewelry of the room, and it's very taste specific. So this is a simple swap out. Typically speaking, you can stay within the original holes that were made, or maybe like you're going from a knob to a handle and add an additional hole. That is super simple. This is switching out things like towel bars and toilet paper holders and things like that. What is the cost for the average bathroom? If you switched out towel bar, toilet paper holder, and like knobs, you could do it in the $50 range, up to about $150 depending on what you're doing. And if you're gonna hire it out for plumbing, labor will probably be in the ballpark of $200 to $500 for most projects. If you DIY it, your labor's free, and so it'll be just the cost of your finishes. There is nothing that looks more builder grade than an unframed mirror in a bathroom. So if you have that, it's okay. Switching it out for something custom, a framed mirror you have gotten at a thrift store or you found at a big box retailer. If you can find a thrifted mirror, that would be amazing. You could really dress up something that is already existing and painted. I think on the lower end, you could be about $20 to $30, probably more in the range of $30 up to like $100, or maybe even $200 if you really splurge on a mirror that you really love, and if it's like larger in size. Now, if you are doing a custom frame, you're hiring somebody to come and do it, you're gonna be looking in the ballpark of $300 to $800, and that might be worth it because it will really upgrade the look of your bathroom. So you'll just have to decide what your skill set is and what you are comfortable doing. Good lighting can change everything. It can take a room that's dark and kind of dank and depressing and really update it by switching out the lighting. Now, I've done everything from just repainting the existing light fixtures that I have there and giving them a new look that way, to removing them and putting in something fresh and new. This is something that I have done myself, and it has gone surprisingly well. So I would always encourage you to consult or hire a licensed professional electrician. If you're DIYing it yourself, that can be anywhere from $50 to $250 depending on the lighting. You may need to get a couple of electrical supplies that you don't have to test whether the wire is hot. If you're going to hire a pro, you can expect to pay $200 to $1,000. Now that's going to vary by where you live, what kind of light fixture you're getting, and their fee. But adding open shelving is super easy to do, and there's a bunch of different ways that I've done this. If you're deciding to get rid of an old medicine cabinet, maybe you would want to take that hole and create a shelving and opportunity that's a little bit more aesthetic and beautiful. But putting towels and beautiful candles and things like that can really create a spa-like effect, and that is going to give you a feeling of luxury. So I could see you DIYing something for as little as $20, getting a couple of brackets and some scrap wood, as up to like $150, depending on if you're doing something a little bit more elaborate, where you're implementing gallery railing, which is really beautiful. If you're hiring a pro, it's gonna be in the neighborhood of $300 to $800, depending on what you do. Earlier, we talked about creating a vanity out of an older antique style dresser. If you don't want to do this, but your vanity is looking a little bit tired, maybe consider painting it. Painting out of vanity can really take a dated drab vanity and give it new life. And this is a totally doable DIY project. There's a lot of affordable sprayers that you can get from Amazon, but also using like a foam roller. It depends on the size of the vanity. You could easily paint your vanity out for $50, up to $200, depending on like what you got going on. But if you wanted to hire a professional to paint yours, I think you could expect to be in the ballpark of $600 to $2,000. Maybe consider some of the other options first, but it might be worth it for you. So something as simple as switching out for a new curtain, one that looks a little bit higher end. I really do like white and taupes and tans for shower curtain. I would do something that's a little bit more textural in interest rather than like a busy wild pattern, but that's just the gospel according to Natalie. You do you, boo. The cost is gonna be really determined by what project you're doing. So I say you could get a beautiful shower curtain for as little as $20, up to like $150. There's some beautiful things out there. Shower doors, if you're painting or switching them out, that's gonna be on the higher end of things. If you hire a pro, you can expect to pay $800 to $2,000, depending on whether you're doing like a frameless shower door, all of that. But that sounds expensive. Details matter, so accessories are so important when you're creating a luxurious feeling in your bathroom. You can go to discount retailers like Home Goods, TJ Maxx, Ross, and find beautiful soap dispensers and trash cans that are a little bit more elevated. You can find like beautiful trash cans for less than $10 at these places, and beautiful soap pumps, and it's all those little accessories. That is what's gonna give that luxury feeling. So this one, you could hire a designer, but this is something that you could totally DIY, and if you're not quite sure how to do it, consult Pinterest and get ideas of what you see that aesthetically pleases your eye. Just simple things like a candle, some florals, some candlesticks, some towels, some bath salts. Don't go crazy. It all gives that feeling of luxury. So if you have final floor, that's okay. In my home in Maine, I did a bathroom makeover in a little apartment bathroom. It's like the tiniest little bathroom with a 3/4 shower. It is so small. And what I ended up doing is taking some Carrara marble, peel and stick tiles. Then I took spacers and spaced them out as if they were regular tile. And then I went ahead and grouted those spaces. By the time it was done, it looked pretty convincing that this was just regular tile that had been grouted. It was a very budget-friendly project and a totally doable DIY. If you're doing this DIY, and it depends on the size of the bathroom, of course, around $100 to $300, depending on the size of space that you're working on. And that includes grout and a float and all of that. If you're gonna hire a professional, go for the real thing. They're saying between $1,000 and $4,000, and that's really going to depend on the room, the space. the type of tile you select, because there is a lot of variability in tile costs. A bold statement can really transform the look of a room. Wallpaper is back, if you haven't noticed. And on top of it, the options for wallpaper have gotten so much more friendly to stripping them down if you get tired of them, right? Don't discount the power of wallpaper. I know I just wallpapered a single wall in my son's bedroom, if you have seen that episode. It's very classy. It's like a French stripe. Now, if you're doing wallpaper yourself, you could expect to pay, $50 to $200 depending on what you're getting. Could even be as high as like $500 or $600 if you're doing like a beautiful huge wall mural. If you're gonna hire out a pro to install this, you could be between $500 to $2,000. It can be a little bit time consuming. I wouldn't say it's particularly hard, but you do want to be very picky about making sure that it's level and that the seams match and all of that. It looks like a high-end designer touch, but when you do it yourself, it's surprisingly budget friendly. Okay, before we jump into the next set of ideas for making your home look more expensive on a budget, I want to thank Foreo for sponsoring today's episode. If you've been around here for a while, you know I am constantly covered in paint, drywall dust, and who knows what else. All the glamorous parts of DIY. But by the end of the day, my skin just feels done. So having a quick, really effective skincare routine has become a non-negotiable for me. For the past year, I have been using the FAQ 202 LED face mask from Foreo's FAQ line, and it's basically become my daily reset button. It gives you that spa level red light therapy treatment at home, but what really sets it apart is the 8 LED wavelengths, including near infrared. It's like that customized facial that targets everything, but in a way that's actually realistic for busy people, and so many of you have told me how much you love it too. It's lightweight, it's flexible, it's not attached to some ginormous cord and battery pack. It's completely hands-free, so I can put it on while I'm answering emails, planning projects, or scrolling for some design inspo. Meanwhile, it's working on things like fine lines, wrinkles, and overall firmness while I am just getting on with my day. I like to pair it with their red light peptide serum. It's made to work with LED and red light treatment, so I put it on underneath the mask and it helps boost the anti-aging benefits and make each session more effective. But I also really love their Manica Honey Primer Base as well. It's so good. Instead of just using any random serum, this one is actually designed to work with the LED. I feel like the combo gives me that really smooth, glowy skin look, especially after a long filming or DIY day. So Foreo is having amazing deals right now as a part of their January sale. Click on the link in my description box, use my code DESIGN30 for an extra 30% off almost all products. The code is stackable on sale items as well, so you can save even more on top of this sale. A huge thank you again to Foreo for supporting my channel this year and helping me recover from all of my dusty DIY days. Now let's get right back into our list of ways to make your home look expensive and timeless on a budget. The vertical blinds, I just really don't love them. To me, they don't scream expensive. They don't scream timeless. Now, there may be cases where you can't remove them if you're renting or things like that. What I plan on doing in lieu of the vertical blinds is hanging curtains. And eventually what I really like to do is get some smart roller shades that roll up completely out of the way. The price comparison for this is if you do it yourself, it could be anywhere from $150 to $500. And in this instance, it's gonna vary from room to room depending on how many windows, the size of those windows. Now, if you were doing pro, you could be looking at $2,000 to $3,000. When I worked as a designer, it was not uncommon for custom window treatments to go $3,000 for one room. So just keep that in mind. One thing that I want to do is doing a built-in banquette in my breakfast nook area. So what I plan for this area is kind of an L-shaped banquette. Then I'll probably do some sort of round table. You could possibly do a rectangular one. I think I'm gonna give the round a look. So for the cost comparison on the banquette, so I ended up spending spending on my banquette in my breakfast nook around $250 for everything. And that included a cushion, the trim, like all of that additional storage. So that was a really good deal. And so it depends on what size of banquette you're building. So I'm estimating at around $250 to $400 for a DIY version. Could be a little bit more, could be a little less, depending on the size of the window. And then on average, you can expect to pay about $2,500 if you are hiring this out by a finished carpenter. So just keep that in mind. If you have in your home any kind of entertainment center or shelving that's built out of drywall, that is something that I would recommend you addressing. In my case, it's just the way it's built is not functional at all. So for myself, I'm going to be ripping this out and starting from scratch. If that's not an option for you and it's functional and it works for you, there are ways to make it look nicer. So maybe you trim it out in some masonite, which is a very thin plywood that's very smooth, and then you add a lot of trim work and make it look like it's more built in. That would make it look more expensive. Another idea is just getting rid of it altogether and not replacing it with anything, just repairing the drywall, maybe getting a TV stand or however you're going to use that wall, just getting a piece of furniture instead. So you could be looking at maybe like $100 in supplies to demo it and fix it and get it looking good. Now, if you're going pro, you can expect to pay at least $1,500. They're going to charge for all their time. They're going to charge to haul it off. They're going to charge for the drywall wall repair and the floor repair. And I'm telling you, this is something you'll have to decide for yourself on how much work you really want to do and what your schedule's like. This is a totally doable DIY project, but it depends. So just take that into consideration. Now, on either side of the fireplace that I plan to build in that family room area, in lieu of that clunky, not very attractive drywall thingy, I think that there is a perfect opportunity for me to add some window seats on either side. And I do think that having some window seats, whether it's in a bedroom or a little nook area in a living room, it really is a way that elevates the home and makes it look more expensive. Now, this kind of plays back into the built-in banquette that I mentioned earlier. It's the same concept. I'm estimating for a DIY version, $300 to $800. $800 if you've got a big one and you're doing some bookcases, you could totally pull it off for $800. $200 to $300 if you're doing something small. For a professional one, you'd probably be looking at $2,000, and that would be for something probably in the middle. If you were doing custom bookcases and all of that, it really depends on what you've got planned for it. That could really add up quickly. So we're still on the built-in things. So in my main living room, I have this very grandiose 23-foot tall fireplace. I really see an opportunity to flank the fireplace on either side with some built-in bookcases or cabinets. In my fireplace area, I really see something with some cabinetry maybe on the bottom and then some shelves on the top. In my last house, we did bookcases on either side of the fireplace with that kind of combination of the prefab cabinets and building some of it myself. I want to say it was like $800 or so. It's been a minute since I've done that. And so I'm estimating in the ballpark of anywhere from $500 to $1,200. I think I could easily spend $5,000 to $6,000 hiring a professional carpenter to come in and build those out. It could easily get that expensive that fast. And so that will be definitely something that I will be DIYing myself, and I will bring you along for the way. I do envision trimming out the top of the fireplace a little bit more with trim, but the idea that I have for the mantle is, first of all, there's no mantle there. There's some very generic looking tile. I really love the look of a cast stone mantle. Those ones that are made out of concrete or something of the nature, or limestone. They're beautiful. So since I aired this original episode, I did go ahead and do my cast stone look fireplace that I really wanted. And I was blown away by the end cost of this, because it ended up being less expensive than I thought, because it has such a nice high-end finish. So mine ended up being $150. I couldn't believe that I got the same look as my $5,000 cast stone one. So in my new kitchen, I think it's got a lot of possibilities, but one thing that I just am not loving is the vent hood over the stove. It's just very industrial looking and not really what I'm looking for. I envisioned doing some kind of really custom vent hood. I think that that looks expensive, finished, polished. So I have plans to DIY a vent hood. I haven't decided whether I want to do something curvy or something more square. I really want to really live in the space for a second, get used to it and see what the room speaks to me. I've got some ideas. I just want to really polish that off. But I do think a custom vent hood really does elevate the look of a space, make it look more polished and thus more expensive. And so that is something we're going to be doing here in my home, and I hope that you enjoy seeing that here. DIY, I'm estimating that you could easily do it for $200 to $300 very comfortably, get something very large and beautiful and nice. And then the pro cost $3,000 to $5,000 depending on what you're doing. But again, this is all subjective and what your style is like and all of that. So just take this for what it's worth. Also in my new kitchen, I've been blessed that I have a fairly large pantry. What I don't like about it is it looks like, you know, a typical closet, and it's kind of like very noticeable in my kitchen. So you just see like two closet looking doors and it just looks like a generic closet. So one thing that I would recommend and what I plan on doing is trying to elevate the pantry in some way. Now you could do this through switching out the doors, which I may do, or finding a way to upgrade and elevate the doors that are already there. But I also have this idea in my head of maybe making this pantry that's already there, rather than ripping it out, making it look like it's more built in and a part of that kitchen. I'm hoping that I can keep this under $100, but for all intents and purposes, I'm gonna say anywhere from $150 to $300 to upgrade your pantry door with what I've got planned. To upgrade and do it like a custom door, get something brand new, or have them do it for you, you're gonna be looking at probably around $1,500. And that really depends on how fancy of a door you go with or what you have in mind. But I think $1,500 would be a good estimate on that. A pro would definitely mark this up, but doing it yourself keeps that luxe look without the luxe price. So while we're talking about the kitchen, one of the things that I really would like to do, since this is my forever home, is switch out the countertops. I don't think that that's gonna really add much value to my bottom line because it's already a granite in there, so it's already kind of like a stone surface, and adding a stone definitely is a way to make your home look more expensive. But if you look at a lot of designer kitchens, you will notice that a lot of them, and this has been a trend for a while, but over the long haul, this is a very timeless look, is to do something like a Carrara marble. Now, I don't want the upkeep of a Carrara marble, so I'm considering other options like a quartz or a quartzite that has the look of that Carrara marble without the maintenance that you need for a Carrara marble. We did do this in a rental flip that we did last summer, and I can tell you that it depends on the size of the kitchen, but we were able to do it by overseeing it ourselves. I think we were in it about $2,500 to $3,000 for that entire kitchen. So one way to make your home look more expensive is to upgrade from carpeting. Now, I'm not saying that that's a blanket statement. Definitely there's beautiful carpeting out there, and there's areas that you can carpet and it looks wonderful. But generally speaking, if you switch out carpet to a wood floor, it will increase the value of your home of up to 5%. We did an engineered wood in ours. Even some of the luxury vinyl plank flooring out there, it looks really convincing and really nice these days. Switching out carpet to a hardwood floor, or maybe even a tile, if that's a preference that you have, it does elevate your home, make it look more expensive, and then you can bring the softness back in with area rugs. Replacing carpet, you would be looking at about $2 to $6 a square foot, and that's kind of like doing it yourself. Again, hire somebody to do the carpet. It does not cost that much to have carpet installed. So pay for the installer to do it right, do it good. Going more with like the wood tile floor, you're gonna be looking maybe $5 to $10 a square foot. You could totally DIY this. But there is one area that we did not immediately switch out, and that is our stairs. That's because I really wanted to do that myself, and I'm still kind of sorting out all the details of how I want to go about that. And that moves me along to my next point. If you do wood on your stairs, it just is timeless. It makes your home look more expensive. But if that's not an option, especially budget-wise or other reasons, I have this plan, and you're either gonna love this or hate this. This is gonna be very taste specific. I think it looks really nice, luxurious, and expensive to do some kind of pattern carpet on your staircase, whether that's like wall to wall or as a runner. That is something that I'm still kind of sorting out. So the upgrade to the staircase with the custom carpet, DIYing this, you could do $300 to $700 for a runner and tools. And if you already have wood on it and you can just do the runner, that's gonna affect like the cost and everything. If you hire out pro, and we're just talking doing carpet and runners and all of that, I think you could look at $1,500 to $3,500 for a nice custom carpet. Again, depending on the quality and depending on how many stairs and how big your staircase is. And so it's a little difficult. I'm just taking averages, but in some areas, like I can get you a little bit closer. This is gonna really vary depending on the carpet and whether you're putting in wood with it and all of that. So there you go. So in my new bedroom, there's a little hallway where there's his and hers closets on either side as you go towards the front door and the bathroom. They look very builder grade to me because they're just mirrored doors. They're functional, and I don't necessarily want to get rid of them because it's nice having a full length mirror, but I think that there's a way to make them look a little more polished. I did end up adding grids, not to my sliding mirror doors, but I did add them to my sliding glass doors going outside, and I absolutely loved how that turned out. But it's same concept, but you could do it on the mirrors, the sliding mirror doors. And I think for like a set of like 2 doors, you could easily get that done for under $50, maybe $75 if you've got a few of them. But if you did hire this out, it could be, you know, on the smaller ones, like $500 to $1,500. So I think this is totally a DIY friendly one. Totally do it, follow my tutorial, and you will save a ton of money. So my next 2 ideas is adding light that doesn't exist before and then switching out old lights. And the reason why is before we moved in, I had my brother-in-law, who is an electrician, come in, and he switched out all of the can lighting that was more dated looking. It kind of had the almond finish on it. He switched him out with these new, more contemporary looking LED kind of puck lights that were white. They were very affordable. I think it was like $10 to $12 per can light that were switched out. I really like bright white light. I'm never gonna tell you to DIY this because I am not a licensed electrician. This is something I'm comfortable doing for the most part. I'm fortunate that I do have a family member who's a master electrician. If you DIY this, it's like the cost of the light and then a couple of tools that you should use and have on hand. If you hire an electrician, you're gonna be looking at $500 to $2,000 depending on the amount of lights you're switching out. Like if you're switching out all of the cans, it's not very expensive to do, but they all add up really quick. But it really does elevate and make your house look more expensive. While we're talking about lighting, there's a couple of other lighting ideas that I have that really, I think, make your home look more elevated and more expensive. And one of the things is we live here in Florida, and for us, ceiling fans are really necessary and functional, but they're not always attractive. So in our bedroom here, one thing that I did before we moved in was add a chandelier. Now, I had been curious about these because they look like chandeliers. They look beautiful, so you get the aesthetic of a chandelier, but then you can turn on this fan that has clear blades that pop out when you want to use it, and it circulates the air, and they function really, really well. I love this chandelier that we got. I think it looks elegant and timeless. And then when we're not using the fan, the blades tuck back in, they kind of are hidden. You kind of see them, but like they're not obtrusive and they are clear. And we are looking, as far as switching those out DIY, about $150 to $500 depending on the fixture you do. Now this is something that I will do, but generally speaking, I don't like to do fans because fans can get out of balance and all of that. So if you hire a professional to do it, you're gonna be looking at more, again, $500 to $1,000 depending on how many and all of that. Okay, still on the topic of lighting, there is like a recessed light above my bathtub. I really want to switch it out and put in a beautiful, elegant chandelier. I just think that that will elevate the bathroom, make it feel so luxurious and nice. And there are these kits where you can switch out a can light fixture for wire in a regular light fixture like a chandelier, or you can just completely start from scratch. I have heard that like there are areas where that is against code. So you're really gonna wanna make sure that you check that. And if you can't do it directly over the bathtub, maybe you can do it in the center of the room, or maybe there's a way to do like a candelier where it's candles. I just think that that's a way to make the bathroom feel a little bit more luxurious and a little bit more elevated. If you do it yourself, it's again the cost of the light fixture, and maybe around $150 to $400 to get a decent chandelier. And then pro cost would be about, they're estimating $500 to $1,200. My entire interior of my house needs repainted, and I'm not going to be able to do it all at once, but somebody went through with the wrong color paint and touch-up painted all over my house. And so it really cheapens the look of the house when you can really see all of those patch jobs, and really bad paint job can really like level down the look of a room. And a quality paint job, while it doesn't maybe necessarily level it, I mean it really does level it up, but it's not something you go, oh, that's a really fantastic paint job, but you really notice it when it's a really bad paint job. So having a really nice, beautiful paint job really does elevate the look of the home. So to fix your terrible paint job, it's a cost of a bucket of or two of paint. Get some decent quality paint. It's worth it because you'll do less coats and it will save you money in the long haul. Maybe $100 per room for paint and supplies and rollers and all of that. If you're hiring it out, it depends again on the size of the room, but you're looking at more like $500 to $1,000. Okay, so one thing that we have switched out is on the main floor, we had an office that had French doors on it. We are turning that into a guest bedroom. There's a bathroom really close by. I need to address that door for privacy, but also for aesthetics. I think we can do better than the white that is existing. I do think it looks really elegant to paint out. You don't necessarily have to do all of your doors in your house. You can if you'd like. I really do think it is fun to do like a statement door. So like I really envision painting out that French door black and then frosting the glass as well. I recently painted my French door out finally, and I love how it turned out. And it was the cost of paint that I had left over from other projects. So I already had it on hand. So maybe we used a third of a gallon of paint, so $20. And then I switched out the hardware, which really elevated the look of that French door even more, and maybe spent an additional $50 to $60 on hardware. So all in all, maybe like $100 to DIY this myself. Pro repainting, I mean, it's tedious work, that French door, so you're gonna get a little bit more in labor on doing something like this. They're gonna wanna tape it off, they're gonna wanna take it down, they're gonna wanna spray it. It's gonna cost you more. So I'm estimating anywhere from $500 to $1,000 to repaint that door, and I think you should totally DIY it. That's just my opinion. Another thing in the kitchen is upgrading your faucet. Whether that is just something that has a more beautiful finish on it, that has a little bit more design to it. One thing that I would really like to do in my kitchen is to do like a touchless faucet. Now, I actually already bought a new faucet, and because I was going to replace the one in my last home. It's not like a touchless faucet. So I may put that in temporarily, but I really like the idea of being able to like like just barely like touch it with my wrist or wave and have it turn on. I do think upgrading faucets in bathrooms, kitchens, across the board is a way to elevate your home, make it look more expensive. With a touch faucet, this is something you wanted to DIY yourself. It's basically the cost of the faucet and maybe a couple of little parts here and there. So I would say plan to pay $150 if you're not going with a touch faucet, and closer to like $400 or $500 if you are going with a touch faucet. Hire a pro if you're doing a touchless faucet that automatically turns on and requires electrical. I'm going to tell you, hire that out, and it's going to be about $500 to $1,000. Some people love their touch faucet, so just keep that in mind. Another simple thing to do is switch out your toilet handles. I know it seems like such a small, silly thing, but the cheap plastic ones that I see on a lot of toilets, they look cheap and plastic. And whenever I have switched them out to something that is a little bit more polished, that has a prettier finish on it, it always elevates the look of that bathroom. And that's a really easy DIY that you can do. Just switch them out. There's lots of tutorials out there on how to do that. And it's definitely something that I think that you could do on your own. It's just a simple switch. So one of the things that I just never got to in my last house was my laundry room. And it's probably because out of all of the household chores, laundry is my least favorite. But in this new place, we have like a huge opportunity in the laundry room that is in there. It's got like potential, but right now it's very boring and builder grade. And I do think having a very nice laundry room will help motivate me to do laundry. I think if it was beautiful in a space that I wanted to be in, I'm really hoping that helps me want to do laundry more. I am hoping to stay under $1,000, but I have a lot planned. I have a countertop, and this is all gonna be like the size of your laundry room. Again, mine is not the biggest, it's also not the smallest, and I do have the opportunity to do a lot of cabinetry. So my goal is to do it under $1,000. We'll see how that goes. I do want to put in like a granite quartzite countertop in there. Right now it's just for mica, and it also needs more cabinetry. Hiring this out, I think you could easily spend $4,000 to $5,000. Again, depends on the size of the laundry. I'm just going off of kind of like the average. Custom cabinets, tile backsplash. I think you could get in the neighborhood of there real quick. So if you'd hire a pro to do this, you'd be paying a premium, but doing it yourself brings the cost way down. Another thing that we will be doing in our home with regards to lighting is gradually switching out some of the light fixtures that I feel look a little bit on the more dated side for something that's a little bit more contemporary looking. But like in my case, some of those are hanging from those very tall ceilings, so switching them out isn't going to be the easiest task. Another way to update your lighting is maybe you could just switch out the shades or remove the shades. So there's ways to not necessarily switch out your light fixture, but I'm not one to hugely follow trends. And with lighting, I do try to find something that's gonna be a little bit more timeless. The LED lights, if you're going to buy them from like the big box retailers, you could expect to pay about $10 to $15 for a really nice LED one. I watched my brother-in-law do it. It doesn't look super hard. I didn't do it myself, but I think it could be a doable DIY project. Again, I'm not going to recommend that because it's electrical. So I think you could expect to pay $100 to $200 per light, and it might be totally worth it. I think that it really takes a dated home and brings it into a more modern era when you switch them out to the LED. It will save you money when you're switching out from a traditional bulb to the LED lights, and so that is something to take in consideration when you're hiring it out. Switching out your cabinet hardware. Now you can see on my cabinets here that I have some black hardware that's a little bit on the dated side. Cabinet hardware is the jewelry of the room, and so I actually have some on order that has more of a brass finish, and it will be a little bit more sleek. This one feels a little bit country to me, and so we're gonna streamline it and bring it in to this decade. Some things to keep in mind is, what style are you going for? Are you going for more of a country style? Are you going for a modern style? All of those things are going to determine what kind of cabinet hardware you might purchase. Also, you want to make sure that you measure your hardware if you're not planning on painting them. So if you're planning on painting them, you can fill in the holes, sand it down, and put whatever size hardware you want. Just make sure that you get the right size spread on your hardware. Consider the style that you're looking for, the color, and all of that. If you're not sure what direction to go consult Pinterest for some ideas of what might look good. DIY cost is, you know, $50 to $200 if you're doing this yourself. If you are hiring out somebody to do it with some premium hardware, you could be looking at $300 to $1,000. So totally worth DIYing, don't you think? Because my next point deals with elevating your appliances. Now, this could be existing appliances, or this could be doing something new. You saw me take my stainless steel fridge and convert it into this beautiful piece of, it almost looks like an armoire piece of furniture. The only thing that gives it away is the little ice box right here. I do wish that this was black to begin with, but that was the color we are working with, and I still love it. I love it more than the stainless steel that was there, and I was willing to take a risk because it's about 18 years old. It's probably ending its lifespan here, and I thought if I'm ever gonna try it and see if it would work, now's the time. And I'm so glad I did, because as nice as the stainless steel fridge is, it really does give it a more custom feel. I love the way this looks. I think it really does emulate a high-end refrigerator. Another option is finding a way to do a built-in fridge. Now, those can be really, really pricey, so that might be another one that I tried down the road, is to make a refrigerator, like a regular refrigerator, look built in. But also, as far as appliances, I saw Lone Fox, I'm sure you guys did too, do a really cool hack on his dishwasher and made it look copper. It was so stunning. So that is a good inspiration as well. This is one of those projects where designer version costs a ton, but the DIY version doesn't have to. Another way to make your kitchen look more expensive is by adding under cabinet lighting. We've come a long way in this area, because this is just a rechargeable under cabinet lighting. It's motion operated, so it will turn on if somebody walks by it in the dark, and then it will shut itself off. You can get these in soft light and cool light, depending on what tones you like in yours. These are magnetic and rechargeable, so on the edge here you can see that there's a place to recharge it. The installation really is just making sure it's all charged up, and then you make sure that the magnets are sticking to the appropriate surface. So you'll stick one magnet to the light and one magnet to the underside of your cabinet, and then you can just magnet it on like so. It's so simple. And then some of them I've seen also you can do a sustained light if you wanted to keep it on and like as a steady light, you can do that. So I'm thinking, like, if you DIY this, you're like $50 to $200, depending on what you do and how crazy you go. But if you want to hardwire it and you're not sure, I would definitely consider hiring a pro to do this. You're going to be looking at anywhere between $500 to $1,500, depending on the size of your kitchen. So while we're over here at the kitchen sink talking about the faucet, one other simple upgrade you can do is simply switching out your soap dispensers. And this is one that I've had for a while, and I do like it, but I think we could boost the look by switching it out for this beautiful amber jar. I think this will look really great in my kitchen. This one comes with a black soap pump on it, but I also thought we might be able to easily get away with putting my gold one on there, and it looks really good. So I might try that out. But instead of leaving out like dish soap, I used to do this all the time, putting it in a pretty dispenser will just up the look of the kitchen, and you can even lift it up on a pedestal, style it with some other things, and really make you not notice it. This is one of those little details designers charge a premium for, but you can DIY it for a fraction of the cost. Another thing you can do in your kitchen to make it look more elevated and nicer is do something with your windows, if you have them. In my case, I have this very unique window that goes right underneath, like on the backsplash area behind me, and it's not something that I have seen a lot of. I've even looked on Pinterest to see if there are other homes like this. The first thing that I did was frost it for privacy, because we looked directly at our neighbor's house. Every time they walked by, you could see them. And plus it just didn't really have a nice view. The HVAC system was really the view. So for me, I loved frosting it. That allows me to have the light of the window, but still privacy. So that's one thing. That cost me only a few dollars of using some clear contact paper. It looks amazing. I am really happy with it. So to do DIY window film, it could be really, really cheap because you just use contact paper, and that is just will give you a frosted look, and that could be as little as a few dollars, like less than $10 all day, every day, depending on the size of the window, of course. Switching it out to something a little fancier, like a reeded glass, which is what I'm gonna be going with on my French doors and in my pantry doors, and I may even go ahead and do that on the window underneath there as well. It will run you a little bit more, maybe like $20 to $30, but you could definitely do this for under 100, depending on how many windows, how big, and all of that. If you are hiring this out, they're gonna charge you, and you're gonna be looking at $500 to $1,000. Another thing you can do to improve the look of your kitchen is by just adding trim wherever you can. I mean, don't go crazy, especially if you have more of like a modern minimalistic look, but even in those cases, there might be a way to add a little bit of interest through molding to give your kitchen just that little added something that it needs. For example, in my breakfast nook recently, I added some picture box molding. Now, we're gonna be doing a lot of picture box molding in my house. I think that that's gonna be a repetitive theme that I'm gonna do in several locations, including this wall directly behind the camera that has a clock on it. We are gonna be doing some of that picture box molding. Also, there's a trade out ceiling right above me, right over the island, that I think if we added some additional trim work to, that would really be a nice added element to this kitchen. Maybe even doing some tongue and groove shiplap on the ceiling here. So there's lots of possibilities to just add those little added extra details that can be really, really affordable. Simple miter cuts and a finish nailer and some caulk and paint. You would be surprised what you can do. So keep that in mind, because it's a very simple, easy DIY project that you most certainly can tackle yourself, save a ton of money, and really make your kitchen look amazing. To do this DIY versus Pro, it's going to be like cost of supplies, so $200 to $800 a room, depending on what you're doing to DIY it yourself. If you are hiring it out, you're going to be looking at more in the ballpark of $1,000 to $4,000, depending on like the complexity of the trim that you're doing and the expense of it. So I know that that's kind of a range, but you're definitely going to save a ton of money doing it yourself. Another idea that I have is adding a very nice statement light fixture above my island. It's wired for one, but is not there. For example, Mallory Nicholas has these beautiful antique crystal chandeliers that I think are so beautiful. I really do like the ones that are kind of like the big industrial pendant lights that have all of the additional details. I think those can look really nice. We could also do something that was a little bit elongated, since it is over an island. That will cost about $250. Like in my case, because I need to rent like scaffolding and all of that, I would need to add that in. If you just had something that you could do on a ladder, then it's really just the cost of the light fixture. In my case, renting the scaffolding and all of that could run me upwards of $500. Because of the high ceilings in my house, I'm gonna hire that out for sure. And plus those statement light pieces are big and very, very heavy, and I don't want to deal with that. So I think I will be having my brother-in-law install those. And if you do, it will be anywhere from $500 to $2,000. Yikes. My next tip is more specific to tiled kitchens, maybe even the backsplash, but particularly the flooring where there is heavy use. One thing to really make your kitchen look better and more expensive is to clean those dirty grout lines. Now, I've shared a couple of hacks on my channel on how to do this. My favorite, unfortunately, is kind of controversial, but it really does work good, is using the gel Lysol bleached toilet cleaner. You put it on the grout line, let it sit for a second, take some kind of scrubby brush, scrub it in, rinse it off, then do a really thorough mopping, because you don't want to leave that sitting on there for a long period of time. And a lot of you recommended sealing the grout again. I think that's a fantastic idea to just make sure that it stays up well. Another idea is I've used a Bissell steam cleaner to do the same thing, where you just take the Bissell steam cleaner, it has a little scrubby brush attachment that you can add onto it, and scrubbing those grout lines. When you get your grout lines nice, fresh, and clean, it makes it feel newer and it just looks nicer. So if you have grout lines that have darkened over time, like they always do with you, maybe take it some time, clean those filthy grout lines, and it will give new life to your kitchen. Very easy DIY project. Okay, refreshing your grout lines is super DIY friendly. Totally recommend it. I've done it a couple of different ways. I've gotten some flack on some of my ways. Cleaning a grout is definitely something you can do, but if you have a lot of it and you're doing like the floor, you might want to hire that out, and that can run you anywhere from $300 to $1,000 for a professional cleaning. Get that grout looking really, really good. Totally worth it because it takes years off the age of your home. You'll have to weigh whether you want to do it yourself or not. It is totally DIY friendly though. If you want to have a bedroom that looks expensive but isn't going to break the bank, you need to learn the principle of when to splurge and when to save. And this principle is very true, especially when it comes to bedding. On this bedding, there are some splurge pieces as well as some save pieces. So for example, I splurge on the sheets because for me, getting a good night's rest is so important. So making sure that they're soft and feel really good and not scratchy and not sweaty. I do spend a little bit of money on nice quality sheets. So I'm thinking like $150 to $500 for that. And for professional custom bedding, I have sold in my day $2,500 to $3,000 on bedding. Could get more expensive than that. It's beautiful, it's stunning, it's probably worth every penny, but you can get a beautiful, beautiful look curating it yourself, maybe making it yourself. So for my next concept, I know everybody doesn't want a TV in their bedroom, but I think they're becoming more and more commonplace. If you appreciate good design and aesthetic, then you don't really necessarily want the look of a TV in your bedroom. So on my last episode, I took on a project that I've been wanting to take on for years, and that is creating a frame for my TV. Because buying one of those art TVs is very, very expensive, but you can get a regular TV for pretty affordable these days. And why not make it look like the art TV without the price of the art TV? So that's what I set out to do. Is I took my normal TV, created a beautiful, luxurious finished frame that was actually a lot simpler than you think. I do believe that this could be a beginner project, especially if you're willing to just really pay attention to all of the smaller details. You can pull this look off, and I have to tell you, I love how this looks. It looks so good. I was looking online, I was finding people who made these, and I am not knocking them because I really appreciate good craftsmanship. And then there's a lot of YouTube channels out there that literally all they have is art. And you can just put that on your TV and you have a piece of art in your bedroom. It looks so high end, so polished. And if you haven't put a frame around your TV, I highly recommend it. Even outside of the bedroom, this is a good tip, and it just polishes it off and makes it look less, you know, intrusive, I guess, if you will. So give that a try. Okay, so my frame TV, I did end up doing this project and it ended up being $75. I am obsessed. My TV is like a 55-inch, $75, stunning. I love it. It's one of my favorite projects I've ever done. I will link the project in the description box below. If you bought one of these, you're gonna expect to pay $500 to $750. It just depends on whether you have the tools or the skill set to do it. I love the way it looks though. It really made it look like a cold, sterile TV to like a beautiful piece of art, and I have no regrets, and I'm definitely gonna be doing it in my family room when I get to this. I put in a picture box molding treatment behind my bedroom here, and anytime you can add molding, it really does add value and make your bedroom look nicer and quality and more polished. And so I've done this in a lot of bedrooms. You can do everything from like a board and bat finish to a shiplap finish to, in my last one, I kind of did like those square grid patterns. Those can look really good, especially when you polish it off with like a little bit of like pencil molding on the inside. But this was like a less than a one-day project that polishes off the room, makes it look so nice. And this is a totally doable beginner project. If you DIY it, about $200 again, and if you're hiring it out professionally, it really depends on if you're doing something super expensive and bougie, really high-end materials and all of that. $1,500 to $4,000. There's a big variation depending on the type of feature wall you're doing. This is the kind of upgrade that looks like you hired a pro, but it's actually super doable as a DIY for way less. Accessories. Accessories is such a good way to lift the feel of your bedroom, and the way I approach it is to try and get a curated look. I really try to find some things at the thrift store. Sometimes I buy things at the big box stores as well, and get some nice pottery pieces and some coffee table books, or in this case, we're not really having a coffee table, but they still look good as a design element and accessory in your bedroom. Flowers, beautiful candles. This one's kind of a fun piece over here. It's like my Greek goddess head over here. It looks really pretty, but it did not cost me a lot of money. I'm gonna estimate that if you're being thrifty and going to thrift stores and finding things on sale and clearance, that you're gonna spend anywhere from $50 to $300 in a room on accessories. If you are hiring it out and having an interior designer help you with it, you're gonna be about $1,500 on average for accessories. Again, depends on what it is. This next one, I could get myself in trouble for, I don't know. But the struggle is real, let me tell you. If you want your bedroom to look its best and look quality and look polished, it's gotta be clean and organized. And I am going to be the first to admit that my bedroom can get cluttered and messy. If you go into my closet right now, it's not quite as bad as my Monica closet for those of you who have been watching my channel, but it's kind of a little bit messy. But it is true, there is something about cleanliness and organization that just speaks. It just lifts the spirit, it lifts your mood, and I really have been making a concerted effort, especially like this year. It was like one of my New Year's resolutions to have a clean, tidy, clutter-free bedroom and being able to sleep in a nice, serene space. It's hard to do if it's cluttered and messy. This is a judgment-free zone. I am not judging anybody. I'm just saying that is a true principle, and I hope that that maybe gives you a little nudge. I know I've got to nudge myself sometimes, and it will make your bedroom feel more elevated and a place that you want to spend some time. My last idea is adding greenery to the bedroom. I really think that this is a way to kind of polish and finish things out. So you can see that I've got some beautiful branches next to my TV that's just like a little sparse and settled. And then I brought in this tree that I got off of TikTok Shop for like $65. It looks so good in here, and I had it out in another space, and I decided when I did my wall project that I would bring it in here, and it really did kind of finish off that corner and lift the space, and there's just something really nice about it. You could DIY this and do your own curation of it and spend between $20 and $300 for greenery. I do love that. Fresh is always nice. You can go to Trader Joe's and range your own flowers here and there. To do it professionally and go with more of like a high-end plant, you could spend easily $500 in a room, maybe even up to $2,000 depending on the size of the room and how big the trees and all of that are. So that just depends. Adding a window grid. Adding a window grid, there's just something about it that really customizes it on a window. It also works on a door. So recently I found this peel and stick product that is very convincing. It looks like molding, but this is so DIY friendly because you could simply just peel off the backing, stick it to the window or door that you're using at, cut it to the right dimensions, and it's a very simple and easy process. I have 4 big slider glass doors in this living room. The total cost was about $100 to do these doors. To hire out custom window grids by a professional would cost you about $2,800. That's what it's telling me. Best guesses. That's a lot of money. I'm sure they're beautiful, but I am completely happy and have the same level of satisfaction with our DIY version. It looks stunning. It really elevated the look of the sliding glass doors, and it really took a builder grade look, elevated it, made it look custom and expensive, all for a fraction of the price. So another recent addition that we did to this formal living room space was a custom cornice board. Now, what it was previously was a dated fabric covered cornice board. So it was padded and it had some silk fabric, which I'm sure in its time was stunning and beautiful, but it had seen its day. It was like time worn, color faded, ripped and tattered. What we did is my husband and I ripped off the fabric, ripped out all the staples, cleaned it up really well. What we needed to do to upgrade ours was add some of that masonite board. And then I just took some trim that I had in my shop, very economical, affordable trim. We did some picture box molding on it. One thing that you really want to do if you're doing a cornice board is make sure that you putty and caulk all of the seams and make sure that it is pristine, because that is the difference between it looking DIY and looking professional. And then I primed everything out and did a couple of coats of our trim paint to match all the trim that is already in here, then reinstalled it. And it was like night and day difference of the before and the after. It's amazing how that cornice board really added like an architectural interest to this space. So we did this for under $100 easy, maybe like even closer to $75. But if we were starting from scratch, we would have needed to buy some MDF board, and that is a little bit more pricey. If you on average DIY'd out and started from scratch, the average room, they are estimating that to be $250 if you DIY it. Now, if you hire a professional for the same thing, then it costs you about $2,400. So there you go. Hopefully I have shown you that you can totally DIY this. It's amazing how much adding curtains can transform your space, because even after I added the window grids and like the cornice board, it was beautiful, but it felt a little unfinished. And that is why adding curtains really elevates a living room space. But you don't have to go way overboard on this. You can maybe even find off-the-shelf ones. I bought curtains at IKEA that have worked, where I've added a pinch pleat to it. You can add pinch pleat draping, which I showed in an episode where how easy that is to just on the top of your curtains. You can buy them already with the pinch pleating if you like. I prefer a pinch pleat. I think it looks very polished and nice. If you were going to a custom work room and having custom drapery treatment, that we are talking in the neighborhood of $3,000 to $4,000 for custom window treatments. You don't need to go that route. There are options out there that are super affordable that you can do where you don't have to involve a custom workroom. Now, by all means, if you want to go that route and you have the money, I am a big fan of that. They do a beautiful work. They do a beautiful job. So I'm just kind of trying to present all the options, and that's how you do it on a budget and still get a high-end designer look. This next one may intimidate you if you are just beginning with DIY. But I want you to know that just a few years ago, I never thought in a million years that I would be able to build a fireplace or a fireplace mantle. It sounded completely out of reach, but what I knew is I really wanted a fireplace in my living room. I wanted one my whole adult life, and I wasn't willing to spend the money to hire a professional. So I just pulled my bootstraps up and gave it a try, and I was astounded at the results. I was so excited and proud of myself. Now, recently, we bought a home that did have a fireplace, but it did not have a mantle. And I really, really wanted to have a beautiful high-end mantle. Now, the one that inspired me and that I really, really love was a cast stone fireplace. It was about $4,000 to $5,000 for the mantle that I wanted, and I knew that I would never spend that on a mantle. It is stunning, it's beautiful. I'm thrilled with the end result. I cannot believe we were able to replicate the one that I loved so much for such a fraction of the price. Now, on the mantelpiece that I just built, it ended up being $150 versus the $4,000 to $5,000 inspiration one. So it just goes to show you where there's a will, there is a way, and you can figure out how to do it for less money and still have the same impact as the high-end expensive one. So that was really, really rewarding. From a designer, this would come with a hefty price tag, but as a DIY, it's a small spend for a big big impact. Next up is the invisible luxury, and that is scent. Now, there is nothing more mood killing than walking in and having a smelly house. It's happened to all of us. And so scent is super, super powerful. And it's one that I've mentioned before, but I wanted to talk to you about different options. There are some candles that don't have a very pleasant smell, so I would try to avoid some of those. My favorite candle I have burning right here is very, very affordable. It is called Italian Linen, and it comes from Hobby Lobby. And I believe that the candle runs normally at full retail price, $25, but I never spend full retail price. I always wait for it to go on sale. So the candle ends up being about $12, which is such a steal. It smells really high end. It smells like you are in a luxury hotel or spa. So you've got to find the scent that works for you. This is just one that I really, really love. Diffusing is a really popular choice, and I love diffusing. There are very expensive diffusers that retail for about $300. Maybe they're amazing. I haven't tried them out, so I can't really speak to that. This little diffuser right here does not look like much. It's small, but look how pretty it is. This was less than $20. I can't remember the exact price, but it was definitely under $20. Then I did my research on like the most bougie diffusing oil, because you can use essential oils, you can use whatever you want. I haven't done like a massive amount of research on this, but this is one that I did search out. This smells like the most high-end, beautiful hotels. Now this is by Aromatech. I ordered this off of Amazon. This scent is called Santal Escape by Aromatech. This is their smaller version, and a little goes a long way, let me tell you. 10 drops, your house will be pungent. It smells so good. It smells like a high-end, like musky cologne meets like a really high-end hotel. This little bottle is about $25, but if you buy it a 4-ounce bottle, like the price per ounce drops like by a quarter. So you may want to take that into consideration. So my options that I've shown you are between maybe, we'll call it 15 if we include sales tax for this candle, and maybe $50 when you include the price of the diffuser and the scent oil that I just shared with you. So $15 to $50. If you went like the more expensive route of the very nice diffusers that probably you don't have to refill as much and I'm sure they are amazing, you're gonna be looking at about $500 to go that route. Okay, now that you have your beautiful hard surface floor, I would recommend getting a nice rug, but you don't have to fork out $3,000 for a very expensive rug, unless you want to, of course. I'm not telling you how to spend your money, but I'm just saying that you do want to get a big rug. You don't want to skimp and have a small rug. Bigger is better when it comes to rugs. It's beautiful, it looks more polished, it looks amazing, and the prices are pretty affordable these days. They have the washable options that have gotten so much better, and you can spend probably anywhere in the neighborhood of $200 to $400 on a large rug, maybe like a 10 by 13, and maybe it's not the most expensive looking rug ever, but they look pretty good. When you're gonna get like a decent rug, you're gonna end up spending $200 to $400 versus you could spend up to $3,000. Oh, who knows? There's probably rugs that are like way more than $3,000, but just for kicks and giggles, we're gonna call it $3,000. But you can get a very good look for what you need in your home for in the other range. And so, yeah, I cannot tell you how much lighting impacts a room. So first of all, I love light. I love natural light. So windows are awesome. But if you can't get new windows, what's another way you can bring in light? And that is just other lighting. And it has gotten so good, because what's really neat is they have LED lighting now where you can select whether you want it to be warm light or daylight or bright white, and like you can get the look that you want all out of the same light fixture. So if you can add recessed lighting anywhere with the new, more contemporary, updated LED lights, I would highly recommend it. As far as like switching out recessed lighting for the actual light itself, it's probably like $10 to $13 to switch that out to these ones where you can pick which color of light you prefer, the daylight versus soft light, warm light, and bright light. You know, a lot of them have like 3 or 4 different options. Totally would recommend that. We haven't done it in this living room quite yet because of the high ceilings, but it is on my to-do list. That's the thing you need to consider. Is this something that you would want to hire out, or is this something that you can DIY? Now, me recommending to you, I'm going to tell you to hire a professional all the time. I'm not going to tell you to wire your own home because that doesn't seem very responsible of me. Next up, I'm going to talk flooring, and flooring might be something that seems kind of overwhelming and intimidating, and I get it. It is a big decision, a big investment, and some work if you're going to DIY it. But adding some sort of hard surface flooring to your living room or your home in general, it really does elevate the look of it. There are some beautiful carpets out there. If you love carpet, go that route. If you're going the higher end carpet route, it will probably be about the same money as putting in a hard surface flooring. But the nice thing about the hard surface flooring is that it lasts a lot longer than carpet. Some of the options that have come out that are so great these days is luxury vinyl plank flooring has really been elevated. It looks so nice. It is so DIY friendly. Adding tile. There are some beautiful tiles out there. If you go to places like Floor & Decor or even the big box retailers, you can find some really good tiles. The money is in the labor, and so that's where you're gonna have to really weigh whether or not you are willing to put in a little sweat equity. There is nothing more timeless and classy than hardwood floors. It's beautiful. They have come out with, like I said, the luxury vinyl plank flooring and the engineered wood flooring. These are completely doable, DIY friendly. The luxury vinyl plank, you can score and snap. You don't have to use a saw, so that makes it very enticing. They've really upped the look to make it look so realistic and convincing. If you're willing to do the work, you can definitely save some money. Now, as far as the cost perspective, it's gonna really depend on what you select. So here's how I went about it. So we have a 300 square foot living room space that we're kind of basing this all around. And if you want a pretty decent tile or luxury vinyl plank, you're gonna be looking at the neighborhood of $3 to $4 per square foot, and that is for a really nice quality flooring. So that will give you about a cost of $900 to $1,200 if you're DIYing it yourself based on a 300 square foot space. If you're hiring it out, I would plan on spending about $10 a square foot. That includes materials and labor. So you're gonna be looking at the ballpark of around $3,000 to put in that hard surface flooring. Maybe that is worth it to you. Totally your call. I can totally understand and empathize. When it comes to refinishing, that's a whole different ball game, and I'm not gonna really include that in our price tracker. So this next idea is totally DIY friendly. So I would definitely steer you in this direction, and that is swapping out your throw pillows. Make sure that they look fresh, and sometimes they get tired. Tired pillows can bring down the look of the room, and very nice, fluffy, good pillows can bring up the look of a room. But you don't need to spend a fortune. In my design days, you could easily spend $150 to $200 per pillow for a designer pillow from a showroom. There are times when I have splurged on a pillow piece. I've got some pillow shams on my bedroom that I got from Pottery Barn, and I love them, and they really tied the look of my room together, and I saved a lot of money on a lot of the other items. So I think that it is okay to splurge here and there, but I think you don't need to splurge on all of them. And there are so many options. Like if you go into Home Goods or Target, there are beautiful pillows right off the shelf that you can get. You can find stuff on Etsy that's either really affordable or really expensive, depending on what you're looking for. This is where you really need to let your personality shine. Buy things that bring you joy. Swapping out an entire room of pillows. You could do as little as $150 for an entire room of lots of pillows. Up to $1,500 is what it's giving me for the average living room for more of a high-end showroom pillow. So, and I'm sure, again, it could probably even go higher. But you could even make your pillows. DIYing your own pillow covers is easy to do. Then you just need to find the fabric that you like. I've made a ton of pillow covers and pillows in my life. You let your personality shine. This is your opportunity to bring the color scheme and your personality into the space with whatever sings to your soul. Ignore the design trend videos. Now, I love to watch these videos. They're so fun and entertaining, but take them for what they are, just informational. What I recommend is decorating with timeless design in mind, or decorating in a style that you absolutely love, because all these fads will come and go and you are the one who has to live with it. Now, a few years ago, gray was all the rage. Paint your walls gray. You had kind of gray on the floors, gray everywhere, gray on the cabinets, and now they're saying gray is out. A few years ago they were saying boho was all the rage, you needed to have boho style. Now they're saying boho is out. So what I suggest is going for a more timeless and classic approach in whatever design style that is. If you like modern, go for the things that have stood the test of time. If you like transitional, go with those elements. So for example, white kitchen cabinets, now they kind of come and go a little bit here and there, but overall they have stood the test of time. So you know that if you go with that route, you're gonna be okay. If you like a dark mahogany cabinet, those are good as well. But ultimately, find a style that you love. And so when styles come and go, it doesn't really matter because you're happy in your home, and that's ultimately the best way. Just go with a style that you love. Now, there are some things that you can do to kind of be timeless, which is picking furniture pieces that are neutral in color and style with clean lines, simple lines, and then bringing in some of those trendy things through pillows and accessories, things that are not like super expensive. So if you want to kind of bring in what's trendy right now, do it in the smaller areas and not in the big scale things, not in permanent features like flooring. Now, chevron walls like 10 years ago were all the rage. They were like super popular, super fun, and then they went out. But the thing was, is most of those were painted on, so you can just paint right over it and it's not a big deal. But if you did like chevron floors or something like that, then that would be a little bit more challenging. So find ways to bring in some of those trendy things that you are loving and liking without doing on your big ticket items. If you are out of style, that's going to cheapen your home. But if you do timeless choices, that's going to elevate your home, make it look expensive, luxurious, and there you go. If you want to make your home look more expensive, then neutralize your color scheme. Now, bold colors are super fun, and I've used them in my house before. I've done the lime greens and like fun punchy colors, and that is good. If you really want to elevate your space, then you're going to want to neutralize your decor. But in general, if you neutralize your decor and use very muted tones, like in my bedroom here, I've used taupes and creams and whites and a little soft green, and it really elevated the look in here. And that kind of leads into my next point, and they're kind of like tied together a little bit. So what do you do for interest if you are neutralizing everything? You do it through adding texture, interesting patterns, add some smooth elements like a linen next to some knitted elements, next to a velvet, next to some hard surfaces. You want to mix and match things. You don't want everything to be matchy-matchy, and so when you add a lot of textures from metals to woods to fabrics to woven things, it's going to add the interest that you're looking for and make the whole space feel a little bit more elevated. So if you really do want to make your home feel more expensive and you own the home, then I always recommend adding some architectural interest. This could be feature walls with batten board or picture box molding. Adding molding, you can never go wrong. And it is easier to do than you would think. So in my home, for example, downstairs, I had a crazy ikat chevron wall. It was out of style. I wanted to do something a little bit more elevated. So what I did is I covered up the textured walls with some masonite. It's kind of the easiest way to smooth out a wall without having to replaster it. So very simply and easily, you can put some of this very thin plywood that's very smooth, paints up beautifully, over the wall, and then I proceeded to add some board and bat floor to ceiling. Very simple to do. This is straight cuts. These kind of things where you're adding architectural interest really do add value to your home, and so it is totally worth it. You can never go wrong. The big thing is you just want to make sure that you finish it out really well. Make sure the difference between like a finished look and an unfinished comes to how well you do the detailing, and that will separate it from looking like a DIY job and a professional job, which will ultimately elevate your home. Maybe you don't have time, you can hire it out, it still will elevate your home. This next one might push you a little bit, but I'm gonna offer you some alternative ideas. There is something about having a fireplace that elevates the home and makes it look more expensive. If you already have a fireplace in there, there's ways to elevate it even more, especially if it's just very builder grade. Again, adding some more molding, building it out, making an overmantel. I actually do have planned to add onto this. This is a little portable fireplace that I built on this channel and I showed you how to do. It really made my bedroom just elevate and make it look more expensive. Having said that, it doesn't look totally built in, so I thought I would do a portable overmantel. So there's that idea. A couple of years ago, after wanting a real built-in fireplace my whole life, I decided to take matters into my own hands and build it myself. And I did it 100% myself just to show that it could be done. I'd never built a fireplace before, but I just got out of my own way and got really brave and set my mind to it, and it turned out great. But I saved a ton of money doing this myself, thousands and thousands of dollars. It took my living room from totally builder grade, standard, boring, to a very high-end finished look, and I did it myself. Now, this might be intimidating to you, and I don't want to do that. Start where you are at. This is one of those upgrades that would cost a lot in labor, but as a DIY, the price drops dramatically. So while I have talked about not following design trends or whatever, it is important to follow certain design principles. This is one you probably heard of, and it is hanging your curtains correctly. It's worth repeating just because I see it broken all the time. You want to hang your curtains high and wide, and I did a whole video on this. It was like an old video, the music's on, it's too loud, but the principles in the video are really important, so you'll just kind of have to ignore the music a little bit. But you want to basically line the inner part of your panel right here, see, as you can see, with the outer corner of your window. So that should kind of just barely cup around that, and usually it's about 8 to 10 inches away from your actual window. In my video, I give the exact dimensions, and then about 2 to 3 inches from your ceiling. That way it really lifts and elevates the room, makes it look taller, makes the window look bigger, and all of those good things. Just high and wide, try to line the outside of the window with that. I think it looks really nice to put a sheer over there. I just think it adds a softness to it. I like it for light control and privacy. Try to find panels that has like a solid color. That I think will stand the test of time a little bit better. I am guilty of breaking some of these ideas as well, and you know, sometimes it takes time and money, and you just hit project one at a time, and so in some areas of your house it might not be as elevated as other areas, and so just do it over time. When you have the time, when you have the money, implement some of these ideas. That's how I approach it. If you want your home to feel more expensive, you really need to be cognizant of smell. So does it smell clean? Does it smell fresh? Are there pet odors? I mean, I potty trained a dog, so like I really feel you on this. And the types of scents that you use. If your home smells very clean, very fresh, that's gonna just by default make it feel more expensive. And that's why it's so important, like when you go to sell a house, why they say make it smell good, because that equals money in people's brains. It's a very simple concept. Just keep that in mind. I like to burn candles. I also have some really yummy plugins. But if you're looking for something a little bit more natural, this scent by Mrs. Meyer's, it's the peony scent. It smells so expensive, so nice, wonderful. I love it. But I also love anything that smells like food. So pick a scent that generally people like. Be careful about some that might be on the fringe. Not everybody likes pine scented stuff. You're safe going with kind of like a floral scent or a food scent. And I think that you'll be just fine if you do that. One thing that I have done to elevate the equity and elevate the feeling of expensiveness in each of my homes that we have owned, I have always added a backsplash. So this is simpler than you might think if you can get brave and powerful. I have a video on here that kind of walks you through how to do it. And I did it the traditional way, but there are tools out there now that make it even more simple. You can do the muscle bound peel and stick backing for the backer, and adding a backsplash really does elevate your kitchen. You can do the traditional tile, but you could also do like pressed tin, or you could do wood trim, whether that's like beadboard or something like that. I'm all about the DIY ones, obviously, because this is a DIY channel. But adding some sort of backsplash, it does. It elevates the kitchen, makes it look more expensive, so keep that in mind. And again, echoing my sentiments from the beginning of this video, try to not go super trendy. A few years ago, those little square glass tiles were all the rage, and now they're not. So try to pick elements that have stood the test of times, like a Carrara marble, something a little bit more classic in color, nothing too wild or too crazy. I even pushed the envelope in what I did in my kitchen downstairs, the white trellis with the gold trim. I think it's going to be fine timeless wise. I selected it to kind of go with the granite that was already existing. I think we're okay there, but you know, that was a little bit of a risk. So if you're nervous about that, pick something that looked good 20 years ago and is hot again today, and you'll probably be safe. But it does, it really elevates the look and makes it look more expensive. Another idea to make your home look more expensive is adding built-ins wherever you can. Now, it sounds intimidating. It's less intimidating than you would actually think. I've seen a lot of people take IKEA Billy bookcases and hack them, make them look built-in. Those are fairly simple to assemble. So you're taking something that somebody has already constructed, making them built into your home. I know that I have taken an IKEA closet and made that look built-in my entryway. I've also built them from scratch using plywood and screws, and I learned a lot by doing that. In my living room, I put some cabinets on either side that were prefabbed cabinets from Lowe's, and I built those in, put a little top on it, and I've got like these built-in cabinets and then some open shelving. So just how can you add value by just getting brave, getting a friend who maybe has a little bit of experience working together. This next set of ideas came from a recent visit I had to my very dear friend Leah Bolden from C. Jane Drill. She bought what she calls an ugly house and she's fixing it up, and she had me come over to give her some ideas on how to elevate it, and so that's what I did. So we are inside Leah's new purchased home. It needs some work, I'm not gonna lie. First of all, let's just talk about the paint. It is kind of a not so pretty mauve color. So Leah loves mid-century modern, and I think that that would tend to go to like more of a fresher, more neutralized palette. One of the ways to make your home look a little bit more expensive and nicer is to have a more neutralized palette. When you pick very specific like paint palettes, then you're kind of married to that. The way you can bring in some of those fun colors is through accessories and little accents and not the whole wall. So you're just going to want to make sure you have a neutralized palette. There is a way to do kind of a more moody, dramatic theme. For the most part, light and bright, neutral on the walls at least. And I would suggest neutral in the furnitures, but that's another point. Timeless looks really do include beiges, tans, whites, and lots of the variations of the whites, because there's warm whites and cool whites and all of that. So keep that in mind when you're doing color selections. Try to find colors that are not too trendy, and so hopefully that helps you a little bit. One of my other ideas of elevating a look of a home is upgrading, and this is pretty simple to do, right, Leah? Upgrading the outlets?
Yes, absolutely.
So what I'm thinking is you switch these out to something a little more contemporary, maybe square instead of this, and get rid of the almond color. And the same for this, but also adding like USB ports, because in today's day and age, USB ports, you need them. Right?
Gotta have them, that's right.
If you're doing a whole house, do the whole house. But if you're just doing one room at a time, maybe just replace the outlets as you go into something that's a little bit more up to date and modern. If you've got ivory from, you know, the 1980s that is yellowing, that is actually a pretty good DIY. That's a really easy switch and something I would highly recommend if you're not comfortable with that. That is an easy job for an electrician as well. So they come in and switch it out and maybe just do it one room at a time, or if you're able to do it all at once, I would definitely look into that. Just make sure that everything is up to code and safe while you're doing that. Because her home she's approaching it as kind of like a flip or, you know, a project house, definitely. I don't know what her long-term plans are, but there are a lot of projects, and she intentionally bought it that way. So one of the things that I would recommend to her, as well as any of you who have wallpaper, is to consider removing it, especially if there's like patches, like in one of her bathrooms, there was like a repair, and like you could tell where the wallpaper had been cut and reapplied. It was a little odd. And then just dated, very dated wallpaper. See, wallpaper is gonna date. Like even the wallpaper that I've got in my one room, it will eventually date. But the beautiful thing about this new wallpaper is that it's totally removable. You need to keep that in mind when you're doing wallpaper right now, is that it might be trendy right now, but it is not a timeless approach. But little accents of wallpaper here and there are okay. So if you've got some dated wallpaper, remove it. If you're putting in wallpaper right now because it's the trendy thing to do, try to get one that will easily remove when that style goes away, and then it won't be as big of a deal. So just keep that in mind when you're elevating the look of your home. A fun little game that I played while we were at Leah's house was to count how many different kinds of just flooring were in her home. I think it was around 10 or 11 different types of flooring. So my recommendation for you in elevating the look of your home, try to keep it to maybe 3 different types of flooring, and make sure that in the areas where you can see like open expanses, that there's not so many different types of flooring. In her living room, dining room, kind of family room area where you had visual of, there was at least, let's see, I think like 5 or 6 that you could see from the front door. And that's just too many. It begins to look kind of like a flooring showroom. What I suggested to her and what I would suggest to you is try to use a continuous flooring type in all of that open expanses. Maybe switch it up in the bedrooms and do a carpet in the bedrooms, and then bathrooms you could have like a tile that was a little bit different. That's gonna really elevate the look of your home, update it, make it worth more money. I think that that is a really good rule of thumb. With any rule, there's always an exception to it. So, you know, you can push the envelope a little bit, but in addition to the 10 or 11 types of flooring, there was probably 3 or 4 different types of tile on the walls in addition to all of those flooring. So there was a lot going on in that home. And if that's going on in your home, there is things that we can do. And so we're gonna kind of lead into the next point, is like wall tile. In her bathrooms, the tile was actually in really good condition. It was just pink and blue and kind of dated. The problem with hers is she had 2 pretty high contrast in the one bathroom. And what I would recommend is either going all white on all of the wall tile, or just picking one of the 2 colors, because I think a lot going on. Now, you don't actually have to rip it all out, and this is what I suggested to her. Don't rip it all out. There are professional companies out here, and you can DIY this. However, I think if you want the most long-lasting result, this would be one where I would recommend maybe looking into hiring a professional for, and that is reglazing your tile. And so what I had suggested to her is reglazing all of the shower surround and all of the tile on the wall into a white color. This will really neutralize the palette in there, and you could pick out a different accenting tile. In her case, I thought it might be fun because the floor tile was kind of an octagonal shape and it was a little bit more on the subtle side, but it was kind of like a pink and white, but a very subtle, soft pink and white, kind of like two-toned effect. Is she could leave that and just kind of work with a subtle pink on the floor and have that kind of be true to the home, and then reglaze everything else. Again, if she wanted to maybe leave the pink as an accent and then reglaze all of the blue in that one particular bathroom, that could be an interesting option as well. And in her other bathroom, the same thing. But you could also do the flooring if your flooring was just like a too wild of a color. Say it's like green and brown and that just didn't sing to you in a bathroom. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't love green for a bathroom. Also, her tile was in really good condition. As long as there's no tiles loose, but it's kind of nasty looking, maybe it's got buildup or whatnot, and it's just kind of ugly. It was a little bit of wild combination. It can take a nasty looking bathroom and turn it into an amazing looking bathroom. Just a short amount of time. And these reglazing of the tiles have been shown that they can last over 10 years if you have it done professionally. Now for a DIY one, I don't know the numbers on that. I touched on this topic a little bit in my last how to make your house look more expensive video, and that is adding any kind of built-ins. Well, in her case, she already had some built-ins and she had been considered maybe possibly ripping it out. And I was like, hold up, no, don't rip them out. You can make those look beautiful again. And I think that that was what she was kind of ultimately hoping for by just simply, like in her case, painting it out in a really nice quality cabinet paint. I think she had one in mind that she loved in a very nice, lovely white. You can do it in a moody color in this case too. I think I've seen that done really, really well. Picking a moody color and painting it out maybe like in a very rich black or something like that. That can really elevate the look of your home as well. They had some kind of poorly done arches that I would recommend her pulling out I think there was some wallpaper there on the header, and really instead of stopping it where it was, lifting it up and adding some crown molding and some other trims at the top of this unit and just bringing it into this century. So in her house, the baseboard trims were just very odd. Either that there wasn't any trim on the bottom or it was very small and tiny. It was just very, very different. And so one way to elevate the look of your home is by simply removing the baseboards and putting in something a little bit more substantial. And it doesn't have to be something super ornate. In fact, just doing some nice large beefy flat would look really, really good and elevate the look of your home. Contractors love to charge extra for details like this, but with a little effort, you can get the same look on a budget. So in her home, she had a whole bunch of curtains that were just very, very dated. They were very 1980s, maybe a little bit into the 1990s. None of them were very cohesive. And so one of the things that I would suggest is removing those and replacing them with something with a little bit cleaner lines, a little bit more classic lines. And let's go with cleaner, less fussy curtains, and that should help elevate the look of your home, but you got to do it right. This next one, this is non-judgmental at all because I can almost tell you exactly how this went down. In her kitchen, which I think she's planning on totally gutting and starting anew, but I thought it was a good point to make for those of you who are wanting to elevate the look of your home and make sure that it looks money. That is making sure that all of the finishes on the appliances match. So in her house, there was, I think, a white stove, a black microwave, and a stainless refrigerator. And I know that there's a lot of people with that. And what usually happens is the stove probably went out and white appliances were all popular at that time. And so they got a new white stove. And then the fridge went out a few years later, and then stainless was the popular thing. So they got a stainless. So then you ended up with 3 different types of finishes of appliances. And that just does not work very well. So what I suggest is doing it all all the same finish. And right now I would suggest stainless steel. So there's a lot of creative ways you could do this. I've seen on Facebook Marketplace a lot of people, at least in my area, who are selling like brand new appliances because they bought their home brand new and they decided to switch out the appliances to maybe upgrade them. And so you've got brand new appliances, never been used, for sale on Facebook, and you could go that route and save a ton of money. Now again, there are exceptions to all of these rules. For example, if you are really in a high-end price bracket, you can get a very custom stove, and that doesn't have to necessarily match everything else that's going on in the room. It can be a total statement piece. It does get a little bit tricky when you get into like a higher end looking kitchen. There are a little ways you can kind of fudge that rule, but for the general population of us, most people, if you can keep them all in the same family finish, it doesn't necessarily have to be the same manufacturer, so you can have a Maytag and a KitchenAid. As long as the finishes are the same, I think you're okay. And the affordable way to do that is to maybe look at Facebook Marketplace or look for good sales and do it that way. In her home, there was like, I think 3 or 4 different types of doors. Now, ideally, you want to have all of the same kind of interior doors just for the consistency, and that will really elevate the look of your home. Instead, she kind of has a hodgepodge of doors. Again, there's exceptions to that rule. If you did like a special door on your pantry, you can get away with that. But for the most part, we are looking for consistency in the doors. And so if you can have them all be the same, that's what I'd recommend. At minimum, I would paint them all the same color so that you have at least consistency that way. But she also had some that were flat panel, and this is a pretty easy project that you can do. You can just take some trim. You don't even need like super fancy tools to do this. You can just take some simple, not so huge trim, and then take some miter shears and miter it out, and you could do 2 boxes, you could do 1 box, and you just nail it into place and then make sure that you can paint it out and it all matches. This is a way to elevate the look of, if you have flat panel doors, elevate the look of it with just a little bit of trim, and then you don't have to replace all the doors. And so all of you who have those very 1970s, 1980s flat panel doors, that's a really cool way to elevate it. Even if you have a mid-century modern style home, just pick the kind of trim and lay it out in a way that would match that mid-century modern. I still think adding trim to the doors, even in a mid-century modern style home, is the way to go to elevate the look of your home, and I hope that that helps some of you out. Now, on to our next one, which is just getting rid of the clutter in your home. Now, this is something that I am guilty of myself. Not only does this elevate the look of your home, but it will elevate your mood. It just creates room in your mind when your home is clutter-free. So for example, you walk right into my home and you look to the left right in the entryway, and there is this 3-tiered basket, in fact, that collects junk. So this is one of the projects that I just took on, is to go through that, get rid of what I'm not using, which honestly was a lot of it in there. Let's be honest. It's just been sitting there, taking up space, not elevating my home. And there's just so many corners. And this will do so much to improve not only the feel of your home. When a home is clean, clutter-free, and organized, it just simply feels more expensive. Like I said, I am devaluing my home by keeping that clutter, because for me it's all about like, oh, I might use that, I might have value in it, but you know what is more valuable? Just the feeling of cleanliness and the elevation of the home. And so that is going to be all of our motivating factors. Here on my channel, I am constantly looking for ways to save money and do it yourself. We DIY so much to save money, but there are a few areas that I am willing to invest. One is quality bedding. Not only does this elevate the look of your home, but this elevates your sleeping, and sleep is such a precious commodity these days that anything we can do to elevate the feeling of sleep and luxury in your bed, it will make you feel more rested, more recharge your batteries. And a beautiful bedroom is just important, but luxury, quality linens and bedding is just a must. And so our next one, which is elevating your bathroom mirrors. But one of the things that we are going to be doing is removing the builder grade mirror. So there's a couple of ways you can do this. There, you could just simply frame out your builder grade mirror with some trim or something to elevate the look of that. That is certainly an easy option that doesn't require you to remove those oftentimes very big and bulky pieces. Also, another idea that I had seen people do is separate your big giant builder grade mirror with some cabinetry. We actually got a really cool idea for this wall with a center console, new light fixtures, some wood trim behind here. So it's actually got a lot of moving components. I also think that there are ways that you can upgrade and elevate builder grade cabinets. Now, this could be as simple as something that I've done in the past on my channel, and that is doing a very deep clean on your kitchen cabinets or your bathroom cabinets and then polishing them. You will be surprised that it will just lift and elevate them to look brand new, look so much more high end, and stop looking so tired. And then switching out, you know, hardware is obviously something that is also a good thing to do to elevate the look of builder grade cabinets. I've also done projects here on my channel where I have just added some extra embellishment to the existing builder grade cabinets by adding like some simple slats horizontally on the cabinet doors and on the side, adding a little bit of embellishment and painting them out. Totally transformed the look in one of my bathroom makeovers. So that is something you can consider. I came up with this incredible hack to do like a full overlay refacing of your cabinet doors. It was surprisingly simple. You do need a few power tools, but the amount of money that you can save doing projects like this, it will pay for those power tools, I promise. And you get such an immense satisfaction from doing something like this. Now, this does not require any fancy carpentry skills. You would have never known that they were not custom made because you open them up, close them, no way to tell that they are not custom made the traditional way, but I came up with a really great hack for that. So one of the ways to elevate your home, make it look more expensive, is to elevate the look of your cabinetry, especially if it is builder grade and there are things you can do, and not all of them require any fancy experience or tools. So I hope that helps some of you. I must be on a bathroom kick because the next point also deals with the bathroom. But let's just say you can't switch out some of the things that we've talked about. You can still elevate the look of your bathroom. You can embellish it with little projects like a bathtub tray, which is something that we've done on this channel as well, where a simple $12 tray with some very luxurious towels, you can put that on your bathroom tray, roll them up really nice and put them on a shelf. If you do fluffy towels, little spa elements like bath bombs and brushes and things that give it a spa-like feel, a candle, some tulips, some just extra little frivolities, as I like to call it, that will really elevate the look of your bathroom and make it feel more expensive. And you don't necessarily have to do a huge remodel. You could simply switch out a rug, put in just all of those fine little details that will elevate it and make it feel more expensive, some pretty perfume bottles, the whole gamut, and you don't have to necessarily do construction projects. So I hope that helps some of you. Not only will this make a good first impression, but upgrading your entry area will really elevate the look of your home. It's the first thing that people see, the first thing they experience, so you do want to give it a little bit of attention. So some of the projects that you can do is painting the exterior of your door and also painting the interior. I've done both of those, and that really makes it pack a punch and pop, and then also just adding some simple decor. Additionally, you can take a dated or builder grade railing and just elevate it by wrapping the newel post in some flat trim. These are straight cuts where you can simply just wrap this newel post in all kinds of trim, layering it up one step at a time with straight cuts, and you can really elevate the look of that newel post, taking it from builder grade to something that feels more high-end, and it doesn't cost a lot of money. Then you want to caulk and paint and putty and make it look really nice, but that simple switch can elevate the look of your entry. So there's things like that, like changing out a light fixture here and there. This is exactly the kind of thing that seems like you need a designer, but in reality, you can DIY it for so much less. You can really elevate the look of your home by adding layers and textures with your window treatments and switching out some that are maybe more dated. If you have mini blinds, maybe remove those and put some Roman shades in. Maybe you add some sheers and some drapery like I've done behind me. What I will say is to try to keep it not in a super busy pattern. I have been guilty of this, and I will tell you, if you do something a little crazy with your curtains, you do get tired of it quicker. So if you decide to invest in window treatments, try to do it like you would of furniture and do something a little bit more on the neutral side. Even if it is a solid color or rich color, you could go bold. Just keep it like not a busy, wild pattern, because if you want to switch out the look of your room, you're kind of married to that. So just keep that in mind when you're doing your window treatments. Look at ways to make it more timeless. That's another thing that I'm talking about on my channel a lot, because you don't want to spend a lot of money on window treatments for it to be a fad and go out of style and you get tired of the pattern. I've totally learned that the hard way. So try to go with things that are a little bit more classic and timeless in nature and elevate your window treatments. Okay, so it's a really good time of year to talk about creating awesome outdoor spaces. Now, I did this a couple of years ago. I live in Florida, so we really do have the ability to have an indoor-outdoor lifestyle. Now, I'm gonna preface that sometimes I have to invade that outdoor space and build projects just because I do not have a workshop. It's the bane of my existence, but I still do have this beautiful and tremendous outdoor space that we really transformed a few years ago that I absolutely love. And out there, I put furniture that was meant for outdoors, but still looks like it could have like an indoor type of feel. It does have like the wicker rattan, but it has upholstered cushions and pillows and blankets. And I made sure that it had a coffee table and just felt very inviting and like an extension of my home. Maybe you don't have a very large space to work with, but you can just bring in little small elements, maybe a small chair and a little small table. Just look for ways to extend the real estate or the room in your home by extending it outdoors, particularly this time of year when it's beautiful and sunny most places. Really take advantage of that. The fresh air is also nice, and the front porch area, just elevate it in a way that you can by small, simple touches. Like I mentioned before, maybe just painting out your front door and really bringing some of that outdoors in. And so I hope that gets your wheels spinning. Okay, one thing that really elevates the look of any room is big fluffy pillows. Flat pillows kind of fall flat, if you will. So they don't pack a punch. They don't look very nice. They look tired and dated. That might even be if you have a new pillow that's just the wrong size. The way to get a nice fluffy pillow is just make sure, and you probably heard this before, buying a pillow that's a little too large for the actual pillow covering. So like if you had like a 18 by 18 pillow cover, you'd want to get like a 20 by 20 pillow insert, because if you got the 18 by 18 one, it will be a little bit more flat. It won't look very full and fluffy and luxurious. I still like the karate chop. Some people don't like that look. I love the karate chop in the pillow, so to each his own. Fluffy pillows are a way that elevates your home. Flat ones, just like I said, fall flat and just don't look as nice in my humble opinion. Okay, I just wanted to give you another idea that doesn't require maybe doing something as big as adding trim or switching out a light fixture, you know, some kind of construction. I'm always about what can we do that doesn't do that. That can be getting candles or fresh flowers, or if you kill flowers like me, faux flowers that look really, really nice. And those tend to be more in whites. If you're using faux flowers, I found that faux white flowers work really, really nice, as some shades of green as well. But the faux flowers really have come a long way. So I know that that is a little bit taboo, and that might be triggering to some interior designers. But if you kill plants like me, faux plants are better than nothing. That's just my thought. And so I think it brings life to a room, makes it feel more expensive, but it's all the little touches, just adding high quality linens, high quality blankets, high quality accessories. It has that I hired a designer vibe, but in reality, it's totally doable as a DIY for much less. I have a new obsession, and it is cut crystal. I have just been so attracted to this lately. I feel like it looks so elevated, so luxurious, and here's a little secret for you. You can find it at a very, very affordable price. I got a set of these. You can see it still has the sticker on it from Home Goods, a set of 6 for about $14, super, super affordable. That's probably about what I paid for this simple everyday glass here. And look how much more luxurious this cut crystal glass one looks in comparison. It's such a no-brainer. You can find a ton of this stuff at the thrift store for like pennies on the dollar, and it's beautiful. You can find candy dishes and vases and platters and all of that cut crystal, just beautiful, very high-end looking, very luxurious at thrift store prices. You cannot beat that. Also, I bought a couple of pieces off of Amazon, like a bedside craft that was cut crystal that I am absolutely loving. And I found that on Amazon for affordable price. So I don't know if you're with me. You'll have to let me know if you love the cut crystal too, if you think that that is just such a more elevated and nicer look than this. Redonate this to the thrift store or keep it for like those occasions when you're not feeling quite as fancy, and get this for a more elevated and luxurious look. I think you're gonna love it. So let's get right into our next one, which is something that I have sworn like over and over and over again I would never do, but it's because the value of it is so good and it just works. That is learning how to slip cover your furniture. Sewing is just such a good skill to have in your back pocket when it comes to home decor, because you can really save a ton of money and elevate your home, and it's not as hard as you think it would be to do. So I've done a couple of small slip covering and upholstery projects here on the channel. So you have a tired looking sofa, you hate the fabric, it's worn out, it's just not attractive. It's just not really doing anything for your home. And something that you can do is create a slipcover or reupholster these pieces. You can also have it done at an upholsterer, but I will tell you, if you can learn how to do some basic sewing, slip covering your own furniture will save you a fortune, an absolute fortune. It will take you about a week or so to reupholster a sofa if you're an experienced seamstress, and that's for a major project, but you can start with something small. Recovering your furniture will elevate your home, make it feel more expensive and just nicer. I hope you give it a go, get brave, just do it. Now, while we're on the topic of repurposing and upcycling things, we took like a crafting cart that I had in my craft room and made a top for it and turned it into a grill cart with some hooks and some handles and things like that. So if you can just think outside of the box, repurpose, upcycle, and elevate. You can even do pieces that are existing in your own home that are tired and just need a little love, with a little bit of elbow grease, a little creativity, maybe some paint or something like that, and you can elevate those pieces that you already own even, or items that you have found in a thrift store Facebook Marketplace, all of those, and all of those are very, very budget friendly. One thing about my home when I bought it is all of the lighting was very builder grade. So I went about replacing them one by one. It's amazing what you can find on Amazon, even at the Home Depot, affordable light fixtures that really elevate your space. I've even made over existing light. My first dining room one, I did end up ultimately switching it out, but I still gave the original one a mini makeover to elevate it in the meantime. I've even made over a bathroom light fixture in my home, gave it new life. But you can do this one by one, or you can make over your existing stuff and elevate it, make it look more expensive, and you can do that for more affordable prices than you might think. Another suggestion I have to elevate your home is switch out some of your window treatments. Maybe you have some that are from the 1990s and are looking a little bit tired. Switching those out for something a little bit more elevated can be more cost effective than you might think. I found beautiful treatments at Home Goods, IKEA, and on Amazon, and in very nice materials such as linens and velvets and just really elevated things. Trying to make the window treatments and treating them as a larger fixture item, where I suggest doing something a little bit more subdued so that you don't get tired of a busy pattern quicker. I've learned this the hard way. So I would just suggest going with something a little bit more refined, a little bit more elegant. I even switched out some blinds recently in my bathroom to some Roman shades, and it was just such a nicer look, and it didn't cost very much at all. So take a look at your window treatments, the ones that might be bringing down your look a little bit, and look for something a little bit more elevated, and you don't have to break the bank to do it. When making your home look more expensive, I want you to ask yourself this question on everyday items. Is there a way that I can elevate the look of this to look a little bit nicer? For example, a soap pump, right? A lot of times it would be simple to just put a dial soap out and just pump it right out of the bottle. But switching it out into a nicer pump will just elevate the look of your home, and it's in the simple details sometimes where you can really do some elevating. You can really find nice looks for an affordable price, and you can reuse it over and over and over again. So it's a good investment, and it really elevates the look of your home. So look at the things that you are using on a daily basis and ask yourself, is there a way that I can elevate this, make it feel like a little thought has gone into it, and all of those small additions will really elevate the look of your home, and that's what we're going for. Okay, this next one, I am going to say that I am guilty of this on and off. And that is really paying attention to the curb appeal of your home to make it look more expensive. And that's switching out the mulch, making sure there's not weeds everywhere, that garbage gets picked up, that gets dropped or blown around in your yard, and just really giving the exterior of your home a little bit of love too. Like I said, it kind of goes through ebbs and flows. We get busy, you know, I have kids, and it just feels hard. We cheapen the look of our home by not giving our exterior even a little love. Maybe that's just as simple as switching out and putting a fresh doormat down, and that will make it feel a little bit more loved and thought out and a little bit more expensive. Might be repainting a front door, but just give your exterior a little extra love and your home will thank you for it, and it will feel a little bit more expensive. Even if you are in a very tiny little starter home, just a little extra love will elevate the look of it, and it will feel more homey. And so, do your cabinets need a little bit of love? Are they pulling down the look of your home? Well, I have done several projects on this channel, and they vary in degree of difficulties. It could be something as simple as painting or adding a little decorative trim or embellishment to the doors. It could be as elaborate as building a cabinet door, which I just did a cabinet hack to make it as simple as possible and attainable for everyone. Or it could even be as simple as just doing a deep clean on your cabinets, which I've done in my kitchen. My cabinets were looking so tired, drab, dirty, and just oh, I was like, they need painted. But I did a very thorough cleaning and it made them look brand new again. And so I'll link that video as well, but just take a look at your cabinetry, see what you can do with it, whether that is putting on a new coat of polyurethane or painting it or adding trim or refacing your cabinetry. There is a way to elevate your home, make it look more expensive, and that can vary in degrees depending on what you have going on. I would suggest maybe consider looking at what you can do to elevate your countertops. And that could mean ripping them out and putting in something as nice as a stone or a quartz or a granite type finish on them, if that makes sense for your budget and what you have going on in your life. Or maybe it's even finding some of the more affordable options that have really improved over time. Several years ago, prior to doing YouTube, I had a little townhouse. And while it would have been nice to put in a granite countertop, it wasn't in our budget at the time. And I wanted to elevate my home and make it look more expensive. So what I did is I took some Carrara marble looking Formica, right? They've really improved the look of it. And I did kind of a square edge that folded over the top. It didn't have the seam, but it just kind of rolled over that squared edge. Did it without the backsplash and put that in. And then I put in a tiled backsplash and it looked so much better, of course, than I did new cabinet door fronts and painted and things like that. But look at the neighborhood that you're in. Also take into consideration your budget, your funds. Don't go into debt for things like this. Save up for it in advance and find the best deal you can. And then sometimes you just live with what you've got. For example, in my kitchen, I've got some Venetian gold granite. It is not exactly what I would have picked out, but I ended up finding a backsplash that I loved and put that in, and it really elevated the look of the Venetian granite. And don't get me wrong, the Venetian granite is nice, it's beautiful, it's just not what I personally love, but it's a nice finish, and so I worked with it. So take a look at your situation, elevate what works for you and your budget, whether that's getting more of an elevated Formica type product or going with a stone type finish. Just work within your budget. The next thing to make your home look more expensive is to maybe replace some of your outdated flooring. Now this may seem like an obvious thing, but you would be surprised. And then I also want you to keep in mind what makes sense for your neighborhood, what makes sense for your budget, because you don't want to go overboard, especially if it's a home that you do not plan on living in the rest of your life. Maybe putting Italian marble in your starter home, something very bougie and expensive, does not make sense, but maybe finding a very nice laminate hardwood floor does make sense, and it would elevate the look of your home. So just take into consideration maybe the price range of your home when you're selecting those finishes. Select something that's appropriate, or if you can find like a heck of a deal on something, I'm all for going to that. I just don't want you to go blow a whole bunch of money on something that you won't ever get back. Now, if this is your forever home, you're gonna live in it forever, get what you want and enjoy it and love it. The overall thing is pick things that look timeless, that are not trendy, and when you invest in it, you will have very little regret. And I hope that helps you when you are making that very big purchase. You are either going to love or hate, I think. Maybe some of you will be in the middle ground, but I think that there will be some strong feelings about this. I happen to be in the camp of loving it, and that is a black and either a white or a gray marble checkerboard on a diagonal flooring. That was kind of a mouthful. This to me looks so expensive, so elegant, and some of you might be asking, well, is this really timeless? Well, this look has been around for a very long time, and maybe it ebbs and flows in and out of style, as all things do, but this one I really truly believe will stand the test of time. This looks really great in entryways. It also looks really nice in kitchens. It's a bit of a strong statement, so I would probably avoid it in other areas because I think it's meant to make an impact. And I would love to try this out sometime. I think it looks super, super elegant. I've even seen versions of this done outside with blacks and taupes, or even gray on gray. This kind of tone on a diagonal looks really excellent in outdoor areas as well. It has that I hired a designer vibe, but in reality, it's totally doable as a DIY for much less. My next idea is a brass gallery railing. Whenever I see this look, what it really says to me is I've thought about the details. It looks very finished, very polished, and it's a little bit of extra jewelry on the room on a shelf. I love this look. I think it's super elegant. I've seen it done mostly in kitchens and dining rooms. It's usually done in those spaces, but it can be done probably pretty much anywhere. I think it would look elegant in a bathroom. It's just a little bit of extra something that elevates the room, makes it look more expensive. Do you know what else is beautiful? Is granite. And there's a couple of ideas that I have that deal with granite marble, like a stone material for your kitchens and baths. And the first one is a ledge. I think it looks so high-end and finished to add a little ledge on your backsplash. You can do this in the bathroom. I just did this in my bathroom. I added a little ledge. I can put my jewelry on it, and it's been really helpful, like when I'm washing my hands and I want it out of the way and I don't want to accidentally knock it in the sink. You can put perfumes on it, but in the kitchen you can make them more substantial and put some spices or whatnot, and it just looks so finished and beautiful. I love that look. I think it looks so luxurious. If you have granite and marble already, maybe it's something that you could add in somehow. It's a little hard to match. Like if you went into my bathroom, it's not exact, even though it's the same kind of granite. It's because each stone is different, but there are some that are a little easier to match than others. Like a white Carrara marble, you might be able to match that up a little bit easier. Black Galaxy would be one that would match up a little easier. So you could maybe add it to your existing one if you're very, very choosy, and then maybe you can go get a little tiny sample of something and do it that way. I think it looks really nice. Another thing that I've been seeing trending a little bit lately, but even though it's trending now, I really see this as a design element that would really stand the test of time, and this has to do with the stone, the granite, the quartz, and all of that. And that is a decorative scrolled edge on the backsplash. So they take the granite up the back of the wall, and then they do like a little decorative scallop on it. And maybe they go up a little bit higher behind the stove or in other areas, and just a little bit of detailing makes all the difference. Now, I do think that this one would run you a little bit more. I haven't price shopped it out. I'm just thinking that extra detailing would be a little bit of a splurge, but it's beautiful. I do see this as being something that will be timeless. It looks like something straight out of a designer portfolio, but you can pull it off yourself for a fraction of the price. This next tip is kind of like a do and a don't type of tip, and the do is make sure your paint job looks really, really good, really pristine, and don't have a really crappy paint job. And so what am I talking about, and why am I talking about this? Many of you may or may not know that I used to practice real estate full-time. I'm licensed in 3 states. I still have a real estate license here in the state of Florida. I'm not practicing. One thing I noticed in touring a lot of homes is if the paint job was done really, really bad, this will make the difference in a home selling and not selling, and for how much. My parents bought a home in New Hampshire several years ago, and the paint job was terrible. Terrible. The first thing that they went in and did is repaint the entire thing, and it made all of the difference. They sold it a few years later and made a huge profit. And I'm not saying that it was entirely due to the paint job. They did some other things as well. That was probably one of the biggest contributing factors. It was done so poorly. I think some of it might have even just been the primer, and they didn't do anything else beyond the primer. But this makes an impact and says to people, your home is expensive, your home is not. So here's a couple of tips. Splurge on the good paint. if you go with the cheap stuff, you will end up using more product. It will take you way more time. You'll get way more frustrated. Spending a little bit more on good quality paint will really pay you dividends. The good quality paint will last way longer, which means you won't have to repaint as soon. And so I really do think in the long run, good quality paint is the way to go. It will last longer, it will look better, it will scrub better. There's just so many things. The other thing is you don't want the paint to run, so make sure you're not putting way too much paint on. It's easier to go put on a little bit more paint than too much. Make sure you can't see the undercolor through your paint job. If you can see stroke marks, if you can see other color coming through the paint, you need more paint on the walls. And other things is like maybe you're painting and you accidentally get some on the ceiling. That has happened to me so many times. Keep a saturated rag right along with you. Most times if you catch it right away, you can get it right off and you don't have to go back in. If you get it on the ceiling, then go in and touch up paint with a ceiling paint. If you get it outside the lines, then you can go in with a fine paintbrush and fix that. It really does make all the difference in doing a good paint job on whether your home looks expensive, quality, or it looks cheap. So make sure that you don't overlook that. Anyways, I hope that that helps you. Just really buy good paint. It's so, like, in the whole scheme of things, paint is the most affordable thing you can do to make a huge difference in a space. So splurge on the good paint, do a good job, and it will pay you dividends. I'm just gonna say up front on this next one that I am totally guilty of not doing this, and I'm trying to do better. So I am just as guilty. If you want to make your home look more expensive, try to go with good quality paintings, real paintings, and you can find those at estate sales, thrift stores. I have a lot of faux ones that I think look really, really good. And so if you are not at the point budget-wise where you can splurge on real paintings, I don't know if I can. I mean, real paintings can get pricey unless you get a good find at a thrift store or an estate sale like I just mentioned. So just do the best you can with your budget. Another option, if real paintings are out of your reach right now, is to go onto Etsy or Lisa Birmingham's new website. She just launched a new website that has artwork on it. If you go to Etsy, you can download digital prints there and then have them printed out at a Photoshop, and I've done that a lot, and they look really, really nice. And I think that going bigger is nice, and having different various sizes is good if you're going to do some sort of collage. I think what I would tell you to focus in on is classic looking prints that look beautiful and will stand the test of time. And there you go. Is your bathroom looking a little drab? One thing that you could do to dress it up a little bit is elevating the hardware in your bathroom. Going from something that's a little bit more builder grade to something that says, hey, I've arrived a little bit. There's actually a lot of really designer looking things on Amazon for great prices. I know that I found a lot of stuff there. They're off brand, but they're still very elevated and beautiful looking. Now, I have switched out some of my own faucets, but this is something that you could easily hire a handyman to come and do. You don't necessarily need to hire a plumber to come switch out your hardware, but I would try to find a reputable handyman, not just anybody, that has good referrals and good reviews, and you can really find out a lot of that information on Google these days and getting good referrals from other people. You can save a little bit of money going the handyman route versus getting an actual plumber in, but maybe your situation would need a licensed plumber, and that's if things are corroded and things need to be replaced and you know it because maybe you can tell. So just keep that in mind. But elevating your hardware in your bathroom is a way to elevate your home and make it look more expensive, and you can find ways to do that on a budget. A couple of years ago, my front door was looking really trashed. The paint on it had bubbled. It looked awful. It did not say, I'm expensive. It said, run away. Try to find a way to make your front door make a statement. In my case, I ended up switching it out just because I didn't love the door enough to strip off the paint, make it look good. I really wanted to elevate the look of my front door anyway, so I just took the opportunity to switch it out. I still kept it the same color that it was before, but I just got something that was a little bit dressier. Front doors really make a statement. So what statement is your front door making right now? Go out and look at it. Maybe it just needs a coat of paint. Maybe it needs some new hardware, or maybe you do need to elevate your front door if you can afford that. So do what's within your budget. Maybe it's just a good scrub down. Maybe that's all it needs. Maybe it needs a wreath or a little bit of sprucing up, or maybe you need to switch it out like I did. So evaluate your front door, see what kind of statement it's making, and make it say wow. Okay, I'm gonna preface up front that I'm not really doing this at all. But I have intentions to in my next home. That's not an announcement. I'm not going anywhere yet. But, you know, maybe one day. I think it does elevate your home when you invest in more smart features. And some of the things that I'm hoping to do in my next house is smart thermostats, monitoring, things like that. I do have, you know, a smart doorbell, which has been really great. I love being able to see things coming and going. In fact, one time I even caught somebody running right into our lamppost out front, and then he drove away, and I had to submit that to the police. So it was like functional as well as, you know, for my benefit to know who's coming and going from my home. But in addition to that, I would also love to do some smart things, the thermostat, so I can control that from my phone away from home. So like I'm not hopefully spending as much money on heating and cooling because I can control it when I'm away, and then when I'm coming home a little bit before, maybe to lower the temperature. So there's some functionality as well as elevating your home by doing smart technology. Another thing I'd really like to do is remote operated like shades that you can like from either your phone or button open and close them, maybe in the morning to try to get you going out of bed. You can raise them, and when you want some sleep and privacy, and blackout shades when you're sleeping. So those are just a couple of little ideas that maybe I'll go into a little bit more, but those are things that I'm hoping to do in my next house. Probably not here, but I do think it makes your home look more expensive, but it can save you a ton of money. So it makes it look more expensive, but hopefully saves you money in the end. So I hope that helps some of you out. So I have a crazy creative brain, and I find value in like everything. I see the potential in things, and I can be a little bit of a clutter bug, but I'm trying to improve that. So I do think it makes a home look more expensive when it's clean and organized. And I touched on that in a previous one of these episodes, but going beyond that, just, you know, beyond cleaning and getting rid of the clutter and all of that, I think it looks so nice and elegant when you have really pretty baskets. When you open up a pantry and the containers match, and everything has a place, and it has beautiful baskets and containers. That looks so expensive and beautiful to me. I really admire and appreciate that. One of the most affordable places that I have found really nice containers and baskets at is at places like Home Goods and Ross. You can really find them for affordable deals there. Even Dollar Tree items look really nice and luxurious if you do them right. This is exactly the kind of thing that seems like you need a designer, but in reality, you can DIY it for so much less. A big thank you to Foreo for partnering with me on this episode. Once again, click on the link in the description box, use my coupon code designed30 for an extra 30% off most all products. The code is stackable on sale items as well, so you can save even more on top of these sale items. Also, if you'd like to see me do a design trends breakdown for this year, where I'm really brutally honest about which ones I think will age well and which ones I'd skip, tell me in the comments and give this video a like so I know to put that together next. And if you enjoyed this episode, here's another one that I think you'll like as well. And to all of you, I just want to remind you that you are powerful. We'll see you next time. Bye.